Today is the 15th of December. We are at MK Central train station. We're having a day out to London. This is a combined Christmas present to the kids and to us. A day of travel and sightseeing in London. So we're going to catch the train in from MK into London. From there we're going to do a couple of things, look around, catch a tram or two, not a tram, an what you call it, the underground and the buses, and then later we've got a surprise for the boys. So we'll let you know how it goes, we'll keep you updated. Just one thing, we just heard on the radio that London's going back into tier 3 by midnight tonight. So I suppose having chosen today is kind of part of destiny. Here's the rest of the family, and there's MK Central train station. Okay, so we're back in the car because we're slightly early. We're overexcited. So since we are travelling off-peak, we have to wait till the available train.
Because someone doesn't listen.
Because it's left up to me to organise the itinerary.
No. We went through it together.
So we were sitting having a cup of coffee in Pret, and the fire alarm in the entire friggin' train station went off, so we had to evacuate. So now we're sitting in the car waiting. Okay, so we're getting a little bit closer to our destination now, on platform 1. Gonna wait for the train. Got another 20 minutes. The old man needs to go for a pee, so... And off we go. So we're now approaching London, Euston. We've gone through Wembley, saw the Wembley Stadium.
London Euston.
Oh, there we go. London
Our
Euston.
final station.
Our final station. From there we've got to get a connecting train to possibly Victoria or somewhere else that we can walk from. So our first experience in the of London.
Your belongings unattended.
So here we are. We arrived at Victoria station in the underground, and coming out of the station, this is our first sort of sight of London, of what we saw coming out. So we see a couple of buses, the architecture in the area, a lot of new mixed with old. So although the ground at the moment there looks quite wet, it wasn't raining. It had a little bit obviously in the morning, but it stopped, and the sun was coming out, which was a big bonus. So we started walking up the road from Victoria Station towards Buckingham Palace, and along the way we saw a whole myriad of different shops and hotels and just things that you only normally see on TV or in movies. And we were able to experience these firsthand now. So here we are arriving at the gates of Buckingham Palace, in the courtyard there. See the statue. Very few people in relation to what there might normally be. Might be the case because it was obviously beginning of the week. It was a Tuesday, but also thanks to COVID, a lot less people around than what normally would be. So here we had the palace guards busy doing their marching. Due to the COVID situation, they were not doing the changing of the guards as an event or as a show, which they would normally have done. But the guards obviously still had to patrol, and wearing grey coats today. Not too sure what significance that has, but there he is walking up and down. There in the distance you can just make out the London Eye over the trees, and as I mentioned, the sun came out and the clouds were starting to dissipate. Then it was time for us to catch another tube, and we were heading to Monument Station. So that was going to be our next stop. Here we have just a little bit of footage on the tube. This one didn't have different sort of doors between the carriages, so it really had an effect of what looked like a caterpillar going through the tunnel, where the front of the train would disappear and then eventually come back again. It was quite a thing to see, and you just caught the end of it, but interesting nonetheless. So yeah, the tube looks pretty empty at this stage. Later on in the day it was a lot fuller, or the one that we went on was a lot fuller, because we actually had to stand. There was no sitting room, so it all depends on time. Here we have where we came out of Monument Station, and which is right near London Bridge. There we can see the monument which represents the fire, the Great Fire of London. And then we got to London Bridge. So I don't know, for those in the know, obviously have seen London Bridge. That's not it in the distance there. We're actually standing on London Bridge looking at Tower Bridge. London Bridge itself is really not very impressive. I think, you know, it has this, purely because it has a song after it, and it's world famous for being in London, but you know, if you don't know, it's really quite ordinary. So there's a ship that's a battleship. I think it's an HMS Belfast, which was moored there on the Thames River, on the River Thames, and there is London Bridge. So that's a picture of London Bridge, where I've zoomed in so you can actually see that's written on the bottom there. And then that is Tower Bridge. So we walked along the river there towards Tower Bridge, and we came across the Tower of London, which is actually where the crown jewels are stored. So all these were closed at the moment. There's no tours happening at this stage. But yeah, as you can see there, it was a fortress. What is a fortress? It was a palace, and it was also a prison. So it was multifaceted in its uses. Quite impressive from outside, I think. That's right along the Thames River. We walked around the back of it to get to the Tower Bridge. So they're looking back at the walls. You can see a different viewpoint there as we came around the corner. The skyline shows a lot of the newer buildings, and there we've got Tower Bridge. So Tower Bridge is probably the most iconic sort of bridge in London. So it was nice to be able to walk there. And there we have a water Uber. It's literally called Uber. It's on the river. And there we just have a couple of it's the map of the city from where you are and what you can see. That little building there called the Gherkin. And all the different sort of the information and the buildings, the iconic buildings that one sees along the way of movies, etc. So from there we headed back along to back to the train station, because we were on the other side of London now, and we headed back towards the Eye. So we went to the London Eye, which is where Big Ben is. There's Big Ben. You can see under construction. Unfortunately, it's been more than a year since they've been constructing on it. They've got the Houses of Parliament there. So a couple more years on that construction, because Big Ben is actually leaning and they have to fix that. There's a picture of the London Eye, and the sort of waterway along that side where you can take tours along the river, etc. So we decided to go and have a look, get a closer look at the Eye. At this stage we hadn't really planned on going on the Eye, due to the costs mainly, but apart from that we decided in any case, let's go get a closer look. Looking back at Big Ben and the House of Parliament there from the other side of the river, and that brought us along towards the eye. Here along the promenade you've got Shrek's Adventure, which is next to the aquarium, and there we've got a pod. So we actually thought last minute to book. We had to do an online booking quickly, and we ended up going on the London Eye, which was a great decision at the end of it because of the weather. We had awesome scenery. We were able to see pretty much the entire city from the viewpoint, and really got to see quite a bit. It was a great experience. So when you're going on the Eye, you basically start at the bottom, all the way to the top, and then back down to the bottom is approximately half an hour. So it was a decent sort of tour of seeing the city. So there's a couple of snapshots and things that will follow now, pictures. Because of the angle of the sun, we've got mainly the one side where you can see some really, really nice shots of, again, very iconic buildings. I'm not going to name them all, I wouldn't be able to, but stuff that you normally see in the movies and in the history books. So it was great to be able to experience that. And again, awesome weather allowed us to see a lot further than I think one normally would on a winter's day in London. Here we were heading back along the bridge after our eye trip on the Eye, and we came across this young man. Thought that was worth a video. Enjoying the bagpipes. Then further on we started walking towards, we wanted to see Trafalgar Square, Leicester Square, Piccadilly Circus, etc. So we started heading off in that direction. It wasn't too far away. The walk was very interesting. You see all the old architecture, you can see all the old buildings, and there's really fancy hotels along the way and all the famous streets. There we have the High Commission, the South African High Commission, which is literally right on Trafalgar Square, and the flag flying, and it's the name on the building. On the opposite side of the square there was the Canadian High Commission. There was a piece of art. This is supposedly a temporary thing, it gets changed every now and again, and this one specifically, it's an ice cream with a cherry on top and a drone on the side, as well as a big ass fly. So that was all part of the exhibition. That was outside one of the art, or the Museum of Arts. And here we see Leicester Square. This is where we got to visit the Lego shop, as well as the M&M world, which was quite a sight to see. It's like the M&M world was like 3 stories just of M&M stuff. We ended up buying a couple of M&Ms and got a freebie, which we'll highlight to you later. Then we carried on walking. We wanted to let the boys see Hamleys, which is obviously a sight to see if you haven't been there. It's 5 or 6 stories of a toy shop. That was Chinatown. They call the area Soho. And there we were walking along. So the streets were starting to get a bit busier now because of the time of day. Work was coming out, so those people that are still working in the city were coming out. There was a bit of hustle and bustle with the traffic. This is Piccadilly Circus, and a little bit underwhelming in a sense, because you always hear about it, but it was really small. We actually almost walked past it. This is Regent Street now, heading down towards Hamleys, and you can see that the foot traffic got quite a bit more busy, and what you see there is all the Christmas lights that are hanging in the streets. With it getting slightly darker, the lights started coming on, so it showed us a little bit more of the impression. From there we had to sort of rush back to Victoria Square. So we
hit 20,000 steps
4:02 in the PM. We are walking through St James's Park, I think it's called.
Yeah.
From Regent Street side, we're heading back towards Victoria. So it's Buckingham Palace first, and then Victoria Station, where we are going to be meeting our surprise. Something that's well worth waiting for, I hope, since we're going to be able to sit down for a bit, because our legs are killing us.
Look at the face. The face says, "My mom killed me."
That brought us right past Buckingham Palace again, this time a little bit later in the day, so different lighting. And up the road from where the train station was is where we were going to meet our special surprise for the boys, which was a black cab taxi. So a lot of the obviously the tourism and stuff is down at the moment in London, so what the black cabs have decided to do is organize tours, so at least they can get like a fixed income in. Here we were enjoying a supper. We hadn't eaten much all day apart from the snacks that we'd brought along, so we went to the Shake Shack, had burgers and chips, and then there was our tour of the city. So 2 hours driving in a black taxi cab, seeing all the Christmas lights in London, and it was quite an experience. We did drive past quite a few of the places that we had been before, but we got to now see it at night time when the Christmas lights were sort of all on. You can see there's all the lights, fancy areas and promenades, some people doing last minute shopping. And the roads got really busy, so we were sitting in quite a bit of traffic at this stage. There's Hamleys, where we were earlier. Yeah, there's some entertainment on the streets.
Can't wave back at you, she's singing.
You're a child.
So shortly after that, there's a Ferrari standing there, and I was trying to get a video of it, and the next thing, policeman walks in front of us, my camera. So we were standing sort of in the middle of an intersection almost because of traffic and because of the robot, or at least the traffic lights and the hectic traffic there. What they've done is, in Regent Street, it used to be a dual carriageway. They've actually made it single lane either way, and they've extended the walkway. So the pavement is twice the size of what it used to be, because there's so much more foot traffic and less walking traffic. Here we have some clever Okie on his bicycle with shorts on, and we were sort of packed for winter. So here we are back in a train station at this time at Euston. We got dropped off at Euston by the taxi, and we were just waiting for our train for our return trip to MK, which is where we got to now, with a gift saying welcome back. And that was our little freebie that we got from the M&M shop. And that, folks, was our little trip to London. A day trip to remember. Thankfully we did it when we did, because a week later London's in lockdown, the streets are empty, and there's no chance of going to see the things that we saw. So we did choose a great day. It was good luck. It's unfortunate that the situation is what it is at this stage, and that was it. Just another note, this is like the third take I'm doing of this this video, because as I was finished my last one, program shut down and none of my changes were saved. So apologies if it was a little bit boring. I had to quickly go over it again so that I could get this out before Christmas, which was my aim. Yeah, please enjoy, and like the channel, subscribe if you can. I do have some things that are in the wings. I'm trying to get more excitement going, make it more entertaining for everybody, but I'm living and learning at this stage, so bear with me and enjoy it. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.